What to do when you feel powerless because you're in a situation where someone actually has power over you? This is a question sent to me by a viewer named Anne, and Anne has asked me for opinions on how to actually deal with this. So let's talk about it. First, I would suggest when you are in a position where someone seemingly has power over you, and Anne mentions like teachers at school, college, bosses at work, people in authority positions that seemingly have power over you and maybe are a little bit less than respectful, or at least that's how we experience them. First thing I'd ask you to consider is they absolutely don't have power over you. The sense of powerlessness we feel, I know I feel usually angry and just deflated, sometimes there's low energy when I believe someone has power over me. So as real as those feelings are, I would suggest that is the indication we've actually hidden our own power from ourselves. It's not that someone else took it. Even though they're in an authority position, I'll actually ask you to consider what you probably already at least intellectually know to be true, that no one can take your power. If that's true, JP, where the hell did it go? That's a good question, JP, as I talk to myself here. Please consider there's a paradox of power. Oftentimes, we'll find a sense of power through becoming powerless. So when you feel powerless, someone's taken your power, so it appears. What if you found out part of you is seeking the sense of power that comes through appearing to be powerless? That puts the power right back into you. Then the only question is, how am I doing that? Why am I doing that? Why we might actually be seeking a sense of power through the appearance of powerlessness. You belittle me, you tell me I'm wrong, you tell me my ideas are crap, you talk down to me in a demeaning way. Why would I find power through that? Well, even though it feels powerless, again, if part of me perceives that a sense of safety and control, the surest path to safety and control, is found by way of becoming submissive and passive in the face of a dominant authority figure, then I'll assume that polarity. I'll become submissive, passive, I'll become the doormat, because that equals great power through a sense of safety and control for a part of me. In this part of me that's out for that sense of power through the sense of safety and control, it would say no. If I stood up and tried to dominate the dominant authority figure and talk back to them, and you know what? I'm going to stand up for myself. This idea that you just gave me a crappy grade on, it's actually a great idea. If part of me perceives that I'll lose grades, I'll lose status, I'll get fired, then part of me would see powerlessness in that. So it says, okay, I'll become the submissive, powerless, on the surface person so that I can keep my power of safety and control in this situation. I think nature always has great examples. I walk around my yard at night and there's a lot of toads that are out hopping around, and when I come upon them, I would suspect the toads perceive me to be a dominant source of power, like I could step on them and squish them. I don't do that. How psychologically screwed up would I be if I just like to walk around my yard and step on toads and kill them? I don't know. That'd be pretty demented. Luckily, I don't do that. At least I'm not going to admit that to you. So with that said, my point being, the toads, when I get close to them, they freeze. They don't move. And I can actually touch them with my finger. And even though the perceived threat, JP, is even closer to them and touching them, the toads become incredibly passive, submissive. Why? Because that is their source of power. That is the best path of power they know how to be, or they know how to gravitate to in that moment. In other words, the toad's very powerless. It's not moving, it's not fighting, it's not running away. It's finding power through the powerlessness. It's the freeze response. That's something to consider. So when it appears as though, they have power over me, what you and I want to begin to consider so that we don't have to suffer in the sense of I'm powerless, we actively look for how part of me is finding power in this moment. Once we find how part of us is finding power in the moment, we actually begin to reclaim a sense of power rather than it just being a buried unconscious experience. So now you can be in the face of the same professor, but when you're in touch with how you actually find power through becoming very submissive and powerless, you no longer have to suffer as much of a sense of, I'm a deflated, powerless person and I get angry because of it. A lot of times when we say someone has power over me, this is a slightly different note, someone has power over me, what we really mean to say, what we really mean is, I can't control them. I can't control the other. I can't control how they treat me. I can't control how they value me, how they praise me or not. So we have a sense of they have power over me because we really don't know how to say I am powerless to control the other. And I believe 100% of the time we are powerless to control the other. But when we believe we're supposed to be able to control the person, I'll get them to make them treat me respectfully. Well, what if they treat nobody in their life respectfully? That is mission impossible. If we try and find a sense of power through controlling another, getting them to treat us the way we consciously want them to treat us, we will be stuck in a perceived sense of powerlessness. And with that said, on the this whole paradoxical note of how oftentimes we'll find a sense of power by becoming powerless. Good English, JP. Feels good when I criticize myself on videos. I'd also ask you to consider the idea that at best, part of us takes the power from another part of us. If a part of me is very, very thirsty in a given moment for a sense of safety and control, of course, the more threatened and fearful a part of me becomes, the more it will become dominant and seek out a sense of safety and control. Therefore, that fearful part of me will take the power from another part of me. And that other part of me that says, I want to be authentic. I want to have a voice and be creative and have my free will shine here. That part of me says, where'd my power go? And automatically we project out, we blame other people. They took it. My professor took it. My boss took it. Because we don't know how to find the part of us that stands right behind our back, inside of our own self, who takes our power. It's kind of like sometimes I'll lose my phone. And I'll have seen my girlfriend with it earlier in the day. And I start to feel that sense of anger, frustration. Where'd you put my phone? Where'd you put my power? Who took my power? You lost my phone. Where'd it go? 15 minutes later, I find it's in my pocket. Nobody took my phone, yet I still get angry and react as though someone took my phone. My girlfriend took my phone. She lost it. Then I discover, It was in my pocket the whole darn time. So part of me hid my phone from another part of me. Yet I still reacted as though someone else did it. I still believed wholeheartedly my girlfriend did it. So when part of us takes our power from another part of us, we want to notice when we react and have that superficial, immediate sense, someone took my power. We notice that so we can kind of recoil inward and start to be curious. Okay, part of me feels powerless here. That's true. Now, what other part of me took the power here? Is it a fearful part of me that's afraid what would happen if I didn't become a people-pleasing doormat for my boss? Maybe he would fire me. Maybe he wouldn't. I don't really know. But if a part of me is fearful of what would happen, maybe that part of me took my power. He took it, and it appears as though my boss took it. So those are some considerations I'd ask you to dance with. Certainly reiterating the idea that nobody can take your power. At best, we can give it away. And that's always an illusion. We actually can never give it away. At best, part of us that we're not aware of can take our power from another part of us that we are aware of. And looking to connect those two parts of us. So in other words, when we feel powerless, we're always seeking a sense of power through the powerlessness, and there's always a part of us inside that perceives either consciously or unconsciously that there's a threat. Here's an opinion for you, we can never perceive someone took our power unless part of us feels very afraid, consciously or unconsciously. So that's some food for thought. I'd also ask you to consider what additional advice would you put on this topic of what to do when you feel powerless because it appears as though someone has power over you. I've given you a few bullet point thoughts. I think what you have to say on the matter probably matters way more to you than what I have to say. So would you be willing to take these thoughts of mine as a little bit of a reference point and then begin diving deeper into your own heart on what you feel about this topic? I'd also invite you to consider giving your power away by being sure to subscribe to my channel, letting me tell you what to do, have power over you. And on that note, I'm going to be looking forward to talking with you guys next time.